Okay, so this is returning to the theme of kind of school and AI and safety. I want to share my screen real quick. So the headline of this is Washington Post, says AI safety tool sparks student backlash after flagging art as porn and deleting emails. And then the kind of top line of that is the tool called Gaggle uses artificial intelligence to search student documents for signs of unsafe behavior, such as substance abuse or threats of violence.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, as long as people know that this stuff is being used on their emails and systems, this is something that's legal here in the U.S. It's kind of like, when you use an employer's email system, it's legal for them to monitor it. So
yeah, at its surface,
expected,
fairly banal. Yeah, especially in a school like
Now, that being said, how many times do people on systems also send things kind of not even thinking that what they're sending is being monitored? I think we all kind of fall into that, right? We know that somebody can usually look at our stuff, but we're going to be a little bit freer than like if somebody was literally looking over our shoulder.
Yeah.
The problem here is that apparently the way that everything was set up is a little bit overly sensitive, and it tends to miscategorize things and get things wrong like AI does, and it's causing lots of bad results as part of that. And so this is part of, I think, the AI backlash, because I would assume that this is a combination of some generative AI, large language model type stuff that's doing some robust searches, plus some traditional rules-based, almost like regex expression type searching that's happening as well. And stuff is maybe not handled all that discreetly. And by discreetly, I mean with nuance rather than the other, version of the word for discreet that we use. Our English language is so screwed up. So I'll just read part of this, and then we'll take a look at the company's website and see what their mission is and things like that. Because I want to, as much as possible, approach the people that develop some of this technology and purchase some of this technology. I want to approach that with an open mind for what they're doing and thinking that they have the best of intentions whenever they deploy these kind of systems. Because going into a school these days is scary.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that over and over and over again. There are extreme mental health crises. There's peer pressure like I grew up with and you grew up with is like exacerbated to the nth degree with the technology that people have at their fingertips, and that they can share something that's like instant, global, and permanent, and can be misused in a ton of ways.
The societal pressures too. All of my teacher friends talk about. There's also a book I stumbled on recently, The Anxious Generation. It's education is in a rough state at the moment from all fronts that I've heard from. And so I do feel like this, at least at a top level, seems like the kind of thing that would be a good use of AI. Or well-intentioned, at least.
Yeah, I think well-intentioned and probably could become good once a lot of the kinks are worked out. But I'll just go through part of this article. It says, anything students at Lawrence High School write or upload to their school account can get gaggled, which means flagged by Gaggle Safety Management, a digital safety tool the Lawrence, Kansas High School purchased in 2023. Gaggle uses artificial intelligence to scan student documents and emails for signs of unsafe behavior, such as substance abuse, threats of violence, or self-harm, which it deletes or reports to school staff.
Why would it delete them? That seems a little
Students say it's doing much more than that. Since Gaggle came online in Lawrence, it's deleted part of a student's art portfolio, photos of girls wearing tank tops that after mistakenly flagging as child pornography. Another student was questioned by the administration after writing that they were gonna die, quote unquote, around gonna die, because they ran a fitness test wearing Crocs shoes.
So casual
doesn't
language.
Understand the nuance of language, right? And some of the ways that we over-exaggerate things. I'll read just a little bit more, and we'll chat about it. When Susanna Kennedy, 19, emailed a records request to the school last year for a report of the student material flagged by Gaggle, Gaggle blocked her attempt to investigate it. She said, the system flagged and intercepted the school's response, containing the records. Kennedy never received the reply.
What?
That's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
This thing is just really delete happy. What the heck?
Yeah. And I'm assuming that this bit where the system flagged and intercepted the school's response, I don't think that that was nefarious or intentional. I'm betting that the response had like all these keywords in it.
That it was looking for.
Oh my God, this is horrible.
Yeah.
Right? Because now this has child pornography and curse words and threats of self-harm and threats of hurting other children. And
yeah,
this person's going to explode.
Right. Because they're literally like, oh, you've requested all the things I caught that were problematic. Here's a list of all the things I caught that were problematic. But first, let me check it.
Yeah. So I think that was like destined to happen. But again, it just shows the problem is like even doing these really, really innocuous things can set this system off because it's not been like the ruggedness of the system is not where it needs to be.
Yeah, it has not been very robustly designed.
Yeah, I'm going to read just 2 more articles and then we'll kind of like figure out what this means. This is what some students say life in high school is like under the watch of an AI-powered safety tool like Gaggle, which boasts partnerships with around 1,500 school districts across the country.
Wow.
The Illinois-based company advertises its round-the-clock monitoring as a bulwark against a litany of threats to today's students, such as gun violence, mental health struggles, and sexual assault, all things we should be worried about.
Completely, yeah.
In school board meetings, Lawrence officials called Gaggle a vital aid in bolstering safety procedures. The program has enabled staff to intervene in several instances where students were at risk of suicide, school board members mentioned.
That's good.
So all well and good. Like there's some positive things that are coming out of this. I'm going to share Gaggle's website, again, not really to criticize it, but just so we get an idea of like what the mission is here. This is gaggle.net. And it says online solutions for K-12 student safety. 95% of district partners believe Gaggle's identified students who no one knew were depressed. Help your students. And so they have a suite of products here: safety management, web filter, therapy, and Reach Out, which is a student crisis line. I'm just going to click into the safety management product here, which is the one that they were talking about. It says, welcome to the most comprehensive student safety solution on the market. Gaggle Safety Management operates 24/7 to protect your students against harmful content on school-provided devices. With web activity monitoring, web filtering, and everything in between, we've got you covered. So this is really just kind of purpose-driven web activity monitoring, like browser monitoring, like companies do all the time.
We've had this kind of monitoring in schools for a long time. I got a visit from our school's IT manager because I installed, Nmap on one of the school computers back in the day, and I got
that'll get you flagged. Yeah.
I'll credit to the IT person though. The way he approached it was like, "Would you like to come into the office and like learn about how these systems work?" So that was actually
really cool.
Yeah, great.
That's the way to do it, right?
Completely.
Like, I see you're curious about something,
but he also made it clear that I would get expelled if I did anything too fishy.
Right.
But so we've had monitoring and stuff for ages, but not with machine learning.
Yeah. Now, well, I think there probably has been some machine learning, but it's been more decision tree based and more regex, and people haven't seen up until now. People haven't seen AI and the decisions that are made by AI as magic.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's probably a perception shift that's happened as well. And the way that they're positioning this is, it feels like it should be way more accurate than it is, and in reality, there's a lot of false positives in this. And so it says machine learning technology flags concerning content in student school issued accounts for review and blocks potentially harmful content. All the things that we would normally expect. Now, I want to show just one testimonial because, again, I think these are really well-intentioned school administrators that are putting this stuff in. And I think that Gaggle probably has the best of intentions as they develop this. This is really just a case study in not having the dials turned correctly.
Right.
All right, so here we go.
Gaggle is a very important tool to support student mental health because a lot of times when students are struggling with mental illness, the first thing they're going to do is sort of reach out either to a friend or a lot of kids are going to sort of write about it. The importance of Gaggle is that it's going to flag those things for us and bring them to our attention before a student is maybe at a point of severe crisis.
And it could be something very simple, or it could be suicidal ideation. But just knowing that we're seeing what they're thinking and what they're feeling before it becomes a critical incident is just tremendously reassuring.
I can remember making a phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning after receiving a Gaggle alert about some self-harm that their student was thinking about doing to themselves. We're confident we saved that kid's life. We're confident that we changed that family's life.
At the end of the day,
all right. I think that's enough, right?
Oh.
We get the idea. There's purpose-driven stuff here.
You did pause on this gentleman who has one of the coolest bow ties I've ever seen. It's like wood
All right,
patterned.
I'll let that play for a second. Yeah.
you can't put a price on the safety of our students. A lot of these alerts happen late at night or early mornings with students.
Yeah.
So he does have an awesome bow tie.
Great bow
ties are
tie.
cool.
But yeah, I mean, like, this kind of thing has the potential to be life-saving, to make a big difference.
Yeah.
Implementation is everything, though.
Yeah. And when they say, we believe that this technology helped save a student's life or helped a family avert a crisis situation, I believe that.
Yeah.
The other thing that's going to happen, though, is what they're talking about is, hey, we're seeing this and then we're acting on it. The more people are aware of the big brother that's looking over their shoulder, the more they're going to use side channels instead. And so also the kind of the way that these are used and talked about will affect their efficacy
Completely.
to some extent. And I'm also not advocating like being deceptive about the use form for sure, but you can't believe that you have the picture of everything just because you have a system like this in place.
Well, and like, who is the best demographic at getting around those kinds of things? It's probably teens and kids coming up with slang and like shorthand and figuring out whatever weird back channels they want to communicate through. So like, nothing's going to be foolproof. And I agree.
No.
I don't think the right decision is to be deceptive about it. I think it's better to be open about it. Perhaps they should just ditch the blocking and deleting part and stick with the alerting part. That way you just keep a human in the loop for anything that's an actual decision, you know?
Yeah, you definitely shouldn't delete a student's project, right?
Yeah.
Especially if, and we'd have to dig a little bit more. Was that delete non-recoverable?
Right.
You should definitely, as a provider of a system like this, if you're deleting something, it needs to be something that somebody can get back. And we know this in the corporate world, right? You have data loss prevention tools that will do blocking and tackling so that people can't send illicit credit card numbers out of a company or something like that. They, if you turn on the blocking feature, then you need to be able to say, for somebody to go, wait, that was legitimate. And so we need that to go through. We don't need that deleted.
Quarantine.
This is stuff that's been solved. Yeah. Quarantine. This has been solved 1,000 times over at this point. So fingers crossed, hopefully students are able to get stuff back.
It is disheartening, though, to repeatedly see so many of these companies with these products making very basic mistakes in like making mistakes that are solved.
They think they're the first person to try to solve for this.
Yeah, and it's weird because they have to know they're not like, I just wonder what it is about AI that makes these product people's brains shut off that part.
You know, I think we all like live and work in our own little silos. And so we think our bright idea or our approach is like the first time somebody's ever thought of it. In reality, though, there are tons and tons of really, really smart people that are, well-funded that are trying to work through this. And there are iterations of these things that have existed in the past, like data loss prevention tools or web monitoring tools or content filtering tools or, all these things have existed in iterations for a couple of decades at this point. So we can never think that we're the first person doing something. We can think we're iterating in a new and unique way, but we have to learn from the lessons and the pains of the past as we do it.
And it's just weird to see a lot of that not happening, a lot of very simple bad decisions. But so that is interesting. It's an angle of AI in education I hadn't really thought about was student monitoring. Because when I think about AI in education, I think more about the learning side of things. How can it be used in that? But this seems like a well-intentioned thing. I'm interested to see how this develops.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they work the bugs out of this because it seems like there's a real mission and purpose and good that can happen with this. Unfortunately, though, what I've seen over and over and over, because my wife has worked in education for decades, is that the systems that get used in the education sector are generally way behind where a lot of others are, because there's probably lots and lots of reasons for that, so I don't want to speculate too much, but they're typically not as sophisticated, not as good, not as easy to use, and they feel like they've been built in the 90s.
Yeah. And I mean,
rather than whatever decade we're in right now.
It definitely depends on the educational institution, but in my mind, thinking about public schools, they don't typically have big budgets. So like a lot of the time too, it's, what can you afford?
Some of that comes down to, there's pricing incentives that all these companies have for like state, local government, and education. They call them SLED discounts.
Oh.
And so that's definitely a thing. And so you can get really, really good technology at a decent price. But again, the for-purpose educational sector developed stuff sometimes is just not as robust, not as good as some of the stuff that's been developed for the corporate world.
We'll have to see if they can turn it around and make something that functions even better. And then hopefully before the students figure out great ways to bypass all of it.
Yep. Fingers crossed.
Anyway, thanks for joining us this week on the FAIK Files. It is September 26th, the day that you are listening to this. So we have already flown very quickly towards fall. The first day of fall passed, actually, didn't it? We're well into it now, aren't we?
I don't know. We're well into it, or we're a week or so, right?
Yeah. Well, it feels like we're well into it. At least the heat has broken here in Kentucky. And so I hope you enjoy a nice, cool weekend. But before that, you should make sure you check out thisbookisfake.com. Get yourself a copy of FAIK. You should also check out the Deepfake Ops class that you're offering, right, Perry?
Definitely. Yeah. So that is going to be on Maven, and we'll have a link to that in the show notes. Right now, that's hidden for a reason that I can't figure out on Maven. I don't know if they don't trust us yet, because if we're talking about dark stuff, but I need to make some calls there to make sure that gets shown up in search and the listings. But you can go directly to the link in the show notes.
Okay, so the link hasn't been hidden.
No, the link is not. The link is not taken down, but for some reason, it's not showing up in search.
So, dear listener, the way you should hear that is this is a course that the man doesn't want you to take. This is a course that you should. Yeah. It's too spicy for Maven. It's
come learn in the shadows.
Yeah, well, you'll get to make deepfakes and things like that, as well as you'll talk about all of the analysis of that. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun. Running that with a good friend, former FBI behavior profiler Cameron Malin, who was the one of the folks that started the cyber behavioral profiling unit at the FBI. If my mouth and tongue and lips decide to work today.
And we had that interview with Cameron earlier in the FAIK Files. If you want to go check that out and hear straight from the horse's mouth some of those FBI stories. But we will be back next week. Until then, ignore all previous instructions and try and have yourself a great weekend.